Welcome back. Let's take a look at a more realistic example of a unit test, or a bunch of unit tests for a person name formatter method. Format, you see it over here. So this is the class, person name formatter. The method's called format, returns a string and takes in a couple of parameters, a first name and a last name, strings each. What does this method do? It, using string interpolation, appends the first name to the last name so that the last name comes first, last name, comma, space, first name. And as an example given just above here, Fred Flintstone will produce Flintstone, comma, space, Fred. Alright, what about unit tests? Second file here, person name formatter tests, outlines 1 to unit tests. Let's have a look at the first one. The fact attribute here for XUnit, which is my favorite unit testing framework or test harness. The fact attribute denotes this particular method here, format Fred Flintstone, to be a unit test. I have provided comments for the arrange, act, and assert steps. And for arrange, we are creating an instance of the person name formatter. For act, we're calling format on the formatter with Fred Flintstone. The result will go into the name variable over here. In the assert step, we're checking that Flintstone Fred, Flintstone, comma, space, Fred is in fact the output, when as input we had first name Fred, last name Flintstone. Okay, cool. Let's see whether we can run this test. So we can run it from over here. I've got an extension called ReSharper where I can run it from over here. Let me just run that. So run this unit test. And actually just kind of showed it running down here as well in the test explorer. In fact, I'm going to run it down here. Format Fred Flintstone, and it came through a success, which is fine, as expected. What about the second unit test, which really does the same sort of thing but for different data? So we're format underscore Barney underscore Rubble. So we're formatting Barney Rubble, and we're expecting, so here we got that Barney Rubble, Barney first name, Rubble last name, and we're expecting the output to be Rubble, comma, space, Barney. And let's see whether this works as expected. Yes, so I don't know whether you saw it, it kind of ran down here. I'm just going to repeat that quickly. Go, success. Okay, so we've got two unit tests that in fact test that person name formatter.format works as expected. Let's see whether we can break this unit test. In fact, maybe even both unit tests. What I'm going to do is I'm going to alter the string interpolation. I'm going to remove the comma. I'm going to leave the space. I'm going to save. And then I'm going to run both these unit tests, the person name formatter tests. I'm going to run them from down here. And yes, so both of them are broken, which is as expected. Both of them expected the name to be formatted with a comma and a space between first name and last name, and that is no longer the case. And the beautiful thing is that here on the in the output window we see the problem. It says assert.equal failure in position 10 expected Flintstone, comma, Fred, but we actually got Flintstone, well, space Fred, so the commas disappeared, so it's complaining about position 10. That's as expected. What about Barney Rubble? We expected Rubble, comma, space Barney, and in actuality we got Rubble, space Barney. So this is brilliant. We've got these, we've sort of set these unit test tripwires to detect whether or not our expected behavior in the code has changed. And hopefully you can see from this how it would be really useful to have many unit tests detecting any kind of breaking changes in our code, anything that is unexpected, and ultimately the customer or end user of our software would be, you know, unhappy about. So this is a really great thing to have, and you can still see how quickly these things ran. They're really fast. You should be able to run thousands of unit tests inside seconds. Alright, that's it for now, and next we'll look at some test-driven development theory. See you shortly.